President Obama is scheduled to speak about his debt reduction plan this afternoon, and insiders believe it includes several tax hikes. The president is expected to frame it as a responsible alternative to a plan unveiled by the Republicans.
Joining us live to talk more about the president's upcoming speech, our tax policy director with Americans for Tax Reform, Ryan Ellis, and political insider Jim McGrath. Jim, are you seeing this basically as a rebuttal, if you will, to Paul Ryan's plan?
I do, Lana. I do, and I think it's not a coincidence that this speech comes in the same month that the president has announced his intention to run for re-election. This is the president's attempt to move back to the center of the political spectrum after 2 years of fairly radical spending programs, the stimulus, Obamacare, you could go on. Now and it's a pattern that follows the Obama presidency. Let others do the hard work like Paul Ryan, see which way the political wind is going, and then give a speech to get out in front of it. So we'll see what he says today, though.
Ryan Ellis, the president is talking about deficit reduction these days. Is this the real deal?
Well, it's the real deal if your version of deficit reduction is raising taxes in order to pay for the higher government spending that you put into the pipeline already. That's what we're likely to hear from the president today. Look, the way to balance the budget without raising taxes is pretty clear. It's pretty obvious. You've got the Paul Ryan budget, which does that. What the president wants to do is not do the serious spending cuts and entitlement reforms of the Ryan budget, but he wants to raise taxes. He wants to raise the top two marginal tax rates back up to where they were 10 years ago. He wants to raise the Social Security payroll tax, and he wants to start taking away a lot of the deductions and credits that all of us have come to know in the tax code.
Well, Jim, compared to last week's budget fight, do you see the stakes and the political risks, if you will, greater with what we are expected to hear today?
I do, Lana, just because the numbers that we're going to be talking about going forward are going to be more serious, more substantial. The budget negotiations, the budget compromise that was just reached, the largest budget cuts in decades in Washington, D.C., and yet they still amount to about 1% of the overall $3.7 trillion budget. Going forward, the numbers are going to get a lot larger, and that means policies, agencies, a lot of political turf in Washington, D.C. is at stake, and that's where the real fights are going to start.
Thanks to both of you, political insider Jim McGrath, tax policy director with Americans for Tax Reform Ryan Ellis.